We have
Oh,
it.
don't come on my property,
No.
or I'm gonna shoot you. Even if you're Girl Scout trying to
Ooh,
sell me some Samoas,
cookies.
I don't like when you're on my property.
Get
I
off
don't like
my
that.
property. I'm so
I will
scared.
shoot you with my
Shoot you
gun,
with
which
your
does
gun.
not kill people. I'll kill people. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the very first episode of Nobody Asked. That is on this day and at this time. It's the first episode of the day. Today we are joined by two illustrious individuals with accolades beyond measure.
That feels
It's
true.
Lumberjack Maria.
Yay! It's me.
He's an incredible race car driver. And Colin Brink. Hi.
Hello.
He's a hockey player for the Colorado Avalanche. Those are two facts, and they are true.
Yes.
The very nature of facts.
I drive in the funny car circuit.
I am wearing glasses. I'm wearing glasses because I am working on a disguise, but my fake mustache and nose have not shown up yet. So just working on the wearing of the glasses and the speaking like someone who wears glasses. So I'll do that a bit. Hey. So that's kind of what I'm working with there. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about Castle Doctrine, stand your ground laws, and how you can defend your property against basketballs that roll onto it and other terrible dangers.
Yes. Fear is lurking everywhere and from literally any and everybody that possibly might step on your porch.
It is seeping from my crevices, the fear. Seeping, I say.
What does
have you guys
fear
ever met
smell
someone
like?
that doesn't have the fear at all? Do you guys have fear?
I have
fear, Ma?
For
you
sure.
Got fear? Yeah, you got a little fear action. Hey, okay, I've got a friend who does not have the fear, and I find it confusing. I'm like, okay, well,
he's
how's
surviving
that for you?
on just luck, I guess.
Yeah. He's like, I mentioned that I own pepper spray, and he's like, it makes me very sad that you feel like you need to have pepper spray. And I'm like, people have been stabbed by my apartment. There was a drive-by shooting a week ago. Yeah. Oh. I mean, I don't think that the pepper spray would have helped in the drive-by shooting, but I would have sprayed it anyway, you know? I would have been like, and then I'd be like, my wound, now it's hot, you know? But this guy, he's like, he's like drunk at 1 a.m. and we're like, do you want us to call you an Uber? He's like, I'll walk home. Oh, where do you live? Washington Heights. You know, where things happen. I'm just going to walk drunk. Do you have a flashlight and a gun? Nope. All right. No fear. And you know what? Nothing's happened to him. So that's good.
Well, let's just knock on some wood and hope that continues to be the case.
Yeah. I mean, he has said, like, if somebody came up to me for my, like, stuff, I would just give it to them. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good way to go, for sure. I think that's good logic. But I think that he just feels like, I mean, if there's a crazy person, I think that's relatively rare. If somebody tries to mug me, I'm going to give them the shit. What are you going to do?
Yeah, give them the shit. Throw the shit far away from you so they have to go get the shit while you run in the other direction. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah.
Or
no fear.
Throw it that way, pretend like you're going to run. When he bends over to pick it up, give him a kick in the ass. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he would do that. But the exact opposite of my friend apparently lived in upstate New York, and we'll be talking about that. And what are the laws, and why are the laws, and are they good, and are they bad? How should they be?
Who the hell knows?
Who? Yeah.
Oh, wait, us. We did some research.
Well, I don't think that we know what they should be. Is that
Oh,
what? Are you going to come to the end of this and be like, you know?
no, no. I'm
I
just,
think that you should inform people. I, my problem with a lot of laws is that they've become so like granular, and it's like they're not all as easy as like don't kill people, right? Pretty easy to hear that one and be like, all right, I know I'm not allowed to kill people. But then some of these laws, you're like, yeah, I can't just like logic that out. So you gotta tell people when they're growing up, like, here is how self-defense works. Here is your duty to retreat. In this area, you don't have a duty to retreat. Sometimes when something is permitted by the law, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be traumatic for you or that it's like the morally right decision, right? These are things that we should talk about. But we will today.
we will.
We're doing what the public education system should have done. But first, let's say some highs. Hi, Barbie. Hi, Susie. Hi, Nobody Asked the Show. And hi, StreamYard Duck.
Well, hello.
Hello. We want to talk about weeks?
Weeks. It's been a weird week. I've spent a lot of
2
time.
weeks, actually.
Yeah. I've been spent a lot of times outdoors. I've been clearing some land. I've been, burning some brush. I've been running branches through the wood chipper. It's just been a lot of yard stuff. Yay. No, it feels good. I like being outside. It feels good to be one with the land. That's
Nice.
it. I mean, yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
Perfect. I'll tell you about my week, but first, let's talk about this week's sponsor. This week's episode of Nobody Asked is generously sponsored by my friend Michael. Michael, you can't marry him anymore because he got married this last week. And we here at Nobody Asked the Show just want to say congratulations to Michael and Michelle.
Yes.
I've always wanted to be the best man at a wedding between a man and a woman with his transsexual name. So Michael and Michelle, it was an absolute joy. It was an absolute joy to be there. I had a ton of fun. One of the best weddings that I've ever been to. And, Michael, he's like a brother to me. He's just a good dude. So yeah, go
dude.
Michael. He listens to every podcast.
Does he really?
Through. So,
okay.
No, but I think that Hunter does. One of my friends' wives, who I'm also friends with, I think does listen to every podcast.
Well, hello, Hunter.
So,
feel free to leave a comment.
Hunter.
If you don't watch it live,
up, Hunter?
Throw a
How's
Hunter.
it going?
If you don't watch live, feel free to leave a comment after the show so that we know that
She
you're
doesn't
there.
watch live. I don't think so. So yeah, this episode is sponsored by Michael. And to many fair years and to a life filled with happiness. I can't believe they trusted me to do a best man speech, man, because I don't know how to say nice things. I get all nervous and then I start sounding like a Victorian, like, and unto you, I bestow love, I can't do it.
Is that what you did?
No.
Okay.
No, what was nice was they gave us a time limit, and the time limit was 2 minutes, and like that's perfect. I got 4 good laughs. I think I realized that like stand up has it. I always knew it had something to do with the audience, but these were such mid jokes that had not been workshopped in the crucible of open micdom. I'm just throwing out jokes. And they are killing like I've never killed before. All you have to do is say a sentence like a joke, and that people are rolling on the floor. You're like, and they're like, so it was good. I got some good sappy moments in there. At the bachelor party, Michael got drunk and said some really sappy things, and then I just kind of took them and I reworked them because I knew what would get him crying, and it worked. Good times. So, had a great wedding in beautiful Des Moines, Iowa. Bada bing.
Bada bing. That's
Also,
awesome.
Barbie says, "Do you have two stress?" No. This episode's second sponsor is Blitzball. Whoa. Yeah. Yeah. Look over here. It's Mickey Mantle. He's throwing out a pitch, and except it's not Mickey Mantle. It's just somebody that doesn't know how to play baseball, and so they can't control a baseball. And if you can't control it and you throw it towards, the strike zone, you might kill a man. So instead, take these, which are made of plastic, and you can throw them against your head, and they do not hurt, except for that time when I did it. And and also because of the weird shape with all of the hexagons and pentagons, when you throw them with spin, they do the things that baseballs do, except that you don't need to be a professional pitcher. It's good, blitzball. And then you can also have them on your desk and play with them, so as to
You can have them on your
the
what?
monkey brain. Desk.
Oh, that's not what I heard. Thank goodness. Okay.
I think she heard Dick.
I did, which I thought was a weird thing to say.
Ellie has dropped off a sandwich for me,
Delicious.
which I probably won't eat during the show unless you talk a lot.
I don't know if I'm going to talk a lot, but
Ellie, do you want me to unplug my earbuds? All right. So I'm going to unplug my earbuds so Ellie can hear the podcast.
Oh, she's going to hear it live as it's happening. We'll allow it. We will allow it. Oh, loud.
Can you hear me?
Oh, no, that's too echoey. That's a no-no. That ain't going to work.
Well, here, let me just change something.
Shoobadoo. Shoot.
Okay, how about now?
That is much better. Yes, I do not hear myself echoing. Great. Okay. Okay, doc. So shall we begin? Shall we begin with the Castle Doctrine? Is that for me?
Yeah, we didn't actually work out what parts are for whom. So
Just seat of our pants. Seat of our pants.
Seat of our pants. Castle Doctrine, man. It falls under the lens of self-defense and what is necessary in self-defense. So, the base level of what was accepted in law was that if there was some sort of threat to you of bodily harm, some sort of perceived threat, in order for your actions to be judged as self-defense, there was something that was called the duty of retreat, right? So self-defense is supposed to be your last option. And in order for something to be your last option, and for it to be justified, you need to show
Have a
that
first
you've
option?
exhausted your other options.
There you go.
The classic one is run away, fight or flight. Try flight first. And so the duty of retreat is that you made some sort of attempt to leave the situation. Now, it gets muddled up with things like guns, where it's like, how do you retreat from a gun, which is a laser that does not care about your running. But in general, somebody, pulls a knife or tries to fight you. You are not legally defensible until you try and run away, depending on state laws. State laws have changed this significantly now. But this is kind of the base understanding of the self-defense argument. However, that is in public, the duty of retreat. In most states, they've adopted something called Castle Doctrine. So your home, your apartment, wherever your abode is
wherever
your
you
castle.
dwell. Yes.
Your dwelling. Yes. That place in which you dwell is your castle. And in it, you have a different, there's a different legal understanding of what is necessary. So that duty to retreat is no longer there. So you need to prove that you had a reasonable understanding or a reasonable expectation of bodily harm. And then you are allowed to respond with reasonable, what's the wording? The
force?
What?
Reasonable force? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, but there's a word that implies like you can't, if somebody comes in with fists, like you can't, or somebody comes in with a spray gun, right? You can't shoot them. right?
Okay.
There's an
So like,
understanding that your force needs to be equal in some way.
I see.
Now, something raises to deadly, right? If you can be killed with it. So, like if somebody comes at you with a screwdriver and you have a reasonable fear of death, you can respond with deadly force, which is a gun. So, you can kill people with a lot of things. So we get past that barrier significantly. But in court, the lawyers are going to argue about whether or not you had a reasonable expectation that you could be killed, because then you used deadly force
Right.
back on them.
Right.
Did I get it right with Castle Doctrine?
You did. It's the idea that your home is your castle. And, I guess in theory, your castle is where you would retreat to. And there's not an obligation to retreat past your home. I mean, that's your retreat. So I think that's why they make the distinction in your home. It's different. But, we call it doctrine as if it's the law of the land. It's not the law of the land. It varies by state. And I don't know that any place actually calls it castle doctrine in their laws. They'll call it something else, but that's what they're referring to. It's been around since, the Roman Empire. But the term castle doctrine really kind of more has to do with the British, right? An Englishman's home is his castle is the way that they said it back in the 17th century. And I will also say it's kind of how would you say this? It's more of a defense for a homicide, right? It's not like, oh, you were defending your house, we're not going to charge you. Like there's still due process involved. And it's more like, okay, you can now make the case. It's like, this is your defense. This is you're justifying why you committed this act. That's the way that it's mostly interpreted, but it is indoctrinated. It's, it is in law most places in some form or another.
Yeah. The using self-defense in any courtroom includes admitting that you did commit the act that you're charged with, but that there is some sort of legal reason that you might have been allowed to, that some exception would be granted to the law, which is, you can't kill people.
Right.
But in some cases, of course, like you can always be charged with what you did. In some cases, of course, there's prosecutorial discretion. And so a prosecutor, if they evaluate the case and believe that there would be no way to effectively prosecute it because there is such a reasonable claim to self-defense, in most cases, they'll choose not to prosecute it. Of course, when we talk about reasonable, prosecutors from different places might see fear differently. And this is where we get into the icky minutia of the whole thing. Is you have to kind of justify whether or not you had a reasonable fear. And then we start getting into how much does identity play into that. And we do see that when prosecutorial decisions are made, that they tend to believe that a white person who is being attacked by a black person has a much greater degree of fear than a white person attacked by a white person. And so, as always, as soon as we bring in subjective measures, things get all fucked up. How nice.
They do. I do kind of want to talk just very briefly about kind of the defining principles of the law. What are the principles of this doctrine? And again, it's not the same everywhere, but it has to do with intruders made an unlawful entry. So what makes it something unlawful, I guess, is a question. But, because sometimes somebody could have entered lawfully onto your property and then the situation escalated and they wouldn't leave. And now it might rise to that level because now they're there against your will, whatever. But, in a lot of places, just the act of trespassing is not enough for deadly force, which is important to note because it seems like we had an awful lot of just people trespassing and them getting shot this past week. Let's see. So unlawful entry. Intruder is being unlawful, which is so they're committing a crime while they're also trespassing, into your castle area. You must believe that the intruder intends to inflict bodily harm. In some places, that might, it could include lesser felonies. And I say some places, it's most places. Things like arson and theft are enough if somebody has entered your castle to justify deadly force. Yep. Okay, so occupants of the home didn't provoke or instigate intrusion. So, if you and your friend are drinking beer on the porch and everything's going great, and then suddenly it starts turning into, a fight and you start rumbling, right? But you started it, you threw the first punch. And he's now defending himself against you. You can't now shoot him and have that and say Castle Doctrine applies.
Yeah, and he was also reasonably considered a guest at that initial point, so that it also adds an element of this is not Castle Doctrine anymore.
Yep. And then, like a police officer, you pretty much can't shoot at police officers at all. But, if they are they're doing their job. They're doing their duties. They are there to do their job. And that's why they have arrived at your house. You don't say, you're trespassing. I now get to shoot you. No, unfortunately, with the police, if they're doing everything lawfully, you can't do it.
Well, yeah. And even if they're not doing it lawfully. Also, if they're in fucking plain clothes, right? How the fuck do you know if they're cops? We've talked about a case in the past where a bunch of plainclothes cops showed up. Look, the thing that I'm the most afraid of here is people knocking on my door and saying they're police. It's very easy to say you're police. You're already trying to break into someone's residence. Yeah, fucking say you're police. And I just got to accept you on your word. There's got to be some system for being like, oh, there actually is a warrant being served. And there's not just some set of crazy people here to, tear me apart limb from limb.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So partnered with the Castle Doctrine, which is protecting your property. It's protecting your, where you live and the people that live there. Beyond that, there is the stand your ground law, which it's kind of the same thing, but it doesn't you don't have to be in your car. You don't have to be on your property. You can just be out in the street and experiencing something. And some states have laws that allow you to not retreat. You don't have to retreat. They've taken away the duty of retreat. You can now stand your ground. And it's almost identical to the Castle Doctrine, but you don't have a castle in the scenario. You are just on the street. Somebody has created some fear in your mind that you are now in danger. You don't have to retreat, in states like Florida, but not just Florida by any stretch, not just Florida. I do have, let's see, let's add this. Ooh, add to stream. I have this schnazzy little whoosy what's it. So these are the states that have stand your ground laws, all the green ones, the dark green ones, well, really both shades of green. So the dark green ones it is enshrined in law, stand your ground. You don't even exactly George Zimmerman, that kind of a scenario. You don't have to have a castle that you are protecting. You can just be protecting yourself or say that you're protecting yourself or protecting other people. And it'll be fine. The lighter green ones, it says in practice, which means, it's been adjudicated in such ways that even though there's not a law on the book for stand your grounds, it's sort of recognized as, yeah, we kind of believe in that here without it even being enshrined in law. So yeah, the blue ones are stand your ground within one's vehicle, which I think places with Castle Doctrine, that usually falls under the Castle Doctrine. Vehicle is your property. So you're protecting your property. Even if you have a tent, that is considered your castle. So it's kind of interesting and weird, but it's interesting that they picked that one out. So we got the orangey yellow one says Castle Doctrine only duty to retreat. So you see that in New York, right? You have a duty to retreat unless you're in your home. So they do not extend that to you being out on the street and somebody, holding a knife to you and saying, "Give me your wallet." It's like, just give him, try to run away. Try to run away, which is interesting and strange to me.
Which is why sometimes you'll see in cases where there is in cases involving self-defense, where there is a contested story of what happened, you'll see lawyers attempt to create a situation where somebody grabs someone's arm, because that will fulfill your duty to retreat, is that you're no longer able to retreat because you've been grabbed. And so that'll be a classic element of the defense. What's interesting is in the states that have stand your ground enshrined in law, just how far it can extend, because you can, in some cases, insert yourself into a situation that you may have already thought was dangerous. And then if you say the right things to cops, there's kind of a get out of jail free card here. In fact, literally the NRA, or no, it wasn't the NRA. It was the Concealed Carry Caucus. Don't quote me on it. It was some sort of concealed carry network. Created these cards that on the back of them said exactly what you need to say to a cop, which was just like, I was armed. I reasonably believed him to be armed with a deadly weapon. I feared for my life. I had to defend myself. And it'll say that on the back of the cards. And these people, these are the things that the like lines that you have to hit. And there was a case in Florida where a man saw two people breaking into his neighbor's house and stealing a television or something. And he was on the phone with 911, and 911 was like, we're sending police over. And this guy's like, I'm not just going to let them steal my neighbor's shit. Like, I'm going to go over there and I can shoot him, right? And the 911 operator was like, no, do not go over there. You cannot go and shoot them. And then the person on the phone said, well, the laws have changed. Laws have changed around here, and I have a right to protect myself. So if I fear for my life, then I can shoot him. And he went over to his neighbor's house and he shot the two thieves. He stayed there till the police showed up, and he said exactly what was on the back of a card which he was carrying. And that person is free right now. So it is interesting how far, if you know how to defend yourself legally, how far Stand Your Ground has extended, because there's no duty for you to keep yourself out of a situation you might think was deadly. So yeah. We had our car vandalized, and the deputy told me if they come back on the property to shoot them. Sounds like that person shouldn't be a cop.
But also,
vandalize your car sounds like a dick, but
you're protecting your property, so it's probably going to fly, because I believe that you're in Arizona. Arizona, yeah. So look at standing around, yeah. You're going to be fine. It's going to fly shooting him. It just doesn't feel right to take a life over somebody.
It's not necessarily going to fly if you talk to cops after, because you still need to prove that you feared for your life.
Yeah.
Now that I feel like that deputy might get in trouble for advising you on that, but
it's not great. It's not great. It's funny. So we talk about how there's a duty to retreat in New York. I had a guy that I knew. He heard somebody kind of breaking into his house, and he wasn't fully awake when it happened, right? And he went downstairs, kind of stumbled down the stairs, just to see what he was hearing. And he sees this guy who had been in his house earlier that day to like buy a fish tank or something. And so he's trying to take his other fish tank, this big fish tank. They get into a tussle. The guy that broke into his house had a knife. So these two are in a fight. There's a knife involved. All kinds of stuff's going on, right? And then the assailant is getting his butt handed to him by this guy who just woke up out of sleep. And he runs out the door, and this guy that I knew, he ran out and he grabbed him. And so now they're tussling in the front yard. Again, beats the snot out of him. And he gets away, but they both know who the other one is. And I think my friend ended up with a knife, and there was a gorge behind his house, and kind of just chucked it, just not thinking, just chucked that knife away.
Well, I found the mistake.
Well, there's several mistakes, right? You're in New York. You have a duty to retreat. He's no longer in your house. He's no longer in your domicile. He's attempting to flee and run away. In New York, you cannot stop somebody from fleeing. You need to let them flee. You can't. Yep. And he didn't. He went and tussled with this dude in the yard, and while he was fleeing, and he had to pay that guy's medical bills because he beat the snot out of him. So he gets robbed, and he has to pay that guy's bills. And so that's also important to know, is that some states do protect you civilly if you do this stuff, and some don't. If you shoot somebody and they live, or even if they die, their family might sue you civilly for killing them for what didn't seem like it was necessary.
What a beautiful story here of how difficult both of the laws are, right? Because to me, if somebody is taking advantage of you in terms of coming in and breaking into your house, one, breaking into your house is a violation on so many levels. It can really mess with how you feel. Even someone breaking into your car can really mess with your sense of trust. You feel very vulnerable after it.
Right.
Somebody does that, they try and steal your shit. To me, if you're not trying to kill the person, I'm pretty in favor of you beating the snot out of them and then keeping them there for the cops. That'd be fun. But laws have to be written in some way and lines have to be created. Another issue, which I think about often, is like when we're evaluating all of these cases from a legal perspective, we're assuming that people are their best selves, that they're in what is without a doubt one of the most high intensity moments of their entire lives. Someone broke into your house and you found them, right? This is the peak of stress. I'm a map now.
Sorry.
This is the peak of stress, right? And when we talk about it in a legal context, it's like, well, the individual was there and then was able to evaluate all of the factors, right? He did, if he didn't talk, I'm sure this fucking guy talked to cops. This is always the story. Don't talk to cops, right? Because a lawyer could have put together a story, which is that he said something like, I'm going to my car to get my gun, right? And now you have you're reasonably concerned that deadly force is going to be brought back to you, and you want to keep that guy from going to get his gun. Lawyer could have helped you, but you talked to fucking cops, didn't you, guy? Never, ever, ever talk to cops. Don't do it. But because lawyers can make a story, okay? They're like, you need to say this, and then you do, and then you're chilling. But no, you talk to cops, you get yourself stuck in a story. It happens super fast. Don't talk to cops. The issue here is that we've got terrible stories on both sides, and it's difficult to legislate in a way which is logical.
You can't drag him back in the house. No, you can't.
No.
Hilarious, though.
And then you would also not be protected by Castle Doctrine in your house. It would be a nice little double whammy. It's difficult to legislate this in a way that is logical, but we all are able to look at it and see these different situations and be like, well, that seems fucked up. That doesn't seem like the way for things to be.
Shall we talk about some of the nonsense that has happened this week?
Yes, it's been in the news this week because we only talk about topical topics. So let's talk about it.
Like we're talking about this stuff, but it's bigger than that. So let's see. Let's start with, okay, so this here is Peyton Washington. She's 18 years old. Her and her friend were going to their cheerleading competitions, practices and stuff. And it's not close. Like they drive like 25 miles or something, each way to do these competitions. And so what they would do is they'd carpool. So one of them would drop their car off at this supermarket and then they would just go together. And then, so this is the way back. So it's the way back. So now we're bringing her friend, whose name is Heather, back to her car. Heather gets out. She goes to the car that she thought was her car. 'Twas the wrong car. It was the wrong car. And there was a guy named Pedro Rodriguez in the car. That's this guy. So he's only 25 years old. And he was like, whoa, what are you doing here, right? So the girl sees, oh, shoot, this isn't my car. And she starts backing away. She sees he has a gun. And she's like, oh, no. And so she gets back into her friend's car, right? Her friend Peyton's car. And they start to like freak out and they're going to drive away. But he gets out of his car and is walking towards them. And Heather just trying to apologize. She's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get into the wrong car, right? So she's backing away. She's trying to leave the situation and she's apologizing. So sounds like not a threat, but he continues to pursue them and they start to drive away and he starts unloading his gun. He shoots 5 times. Heather gets hit kind of just like a graze and she's okay. And Peyton, who happens to was born with just one lung, which is fascinating. She's actually in critical condition right now. Part of her spleen was removed. And it's kind of just a bizarre situation.
Yep.
So
I feel like I feel like a lawyer could definitely get you out of this.
you think so? Well, here's what it says in Texas. Here's the way it reads. It says, let's see. So you need to so force is justified to protect yourself or people around you from unlawful use of force by an intruder. So did somebody intrude, and are they coming after them with their own force? No, I don't believe Heather was approaching the vehicle with force to prevent bodily injury. Again, Heather wasn't approaching with any bodily injury intent to prevent the commission of a violent crime. No violent crime. And so that's just to protect a person, right? But now let's move to protecting property. So he's in his vehicle. So force cannot be deadly in Texas unless it is to prevent things like arson, robbery, criminal mischief at night. So that one's curious. What's criminal mischief at night? I should have Googled that one because I thought that was a funny specification. But or to prevent somebody from fleeing a theft. So interestingly, in Texas, somebody trying to flee, you can use deadly force in those situations. Crazy. That's
crazy.
Bonkers. But Heather wasn't doing any of those things. She just got in, opened the door of the wrong vehicle, and instantly backed away.
She was okay. I mean, one, I feel like we know way too much about this story for us to actually know it. But the other thing is that this is all once we get to this hard line stand your ground law, it's all about what the person that shot believed. And that is where a lawyer does their best work here. It's like, oh, well, how could they believe, right? Oh, well, he thought that she had stolen his, Pokemon cards. I don't fucking know, right? He believed that. And so he was attempting to stop a theft. She did intrude on the thing.
Intruding isn't enough.
What?
Intruding wasn't enough. It had to move past intruding to they're committing some other crime. And here's another part is
he thought that she stole his Pokemon cards.
Oh, okay. So again, when we were protecting property, he must also believe that the property couldn't be protected any other way. He couldn't protect his car / Pokemon cards other than by pursuing her and shooting her in another vehicle.
I mean, how else would you have done it?
She was fleeing, right? After she was doing some night mischief or something.
That's what I'm saying. I think my point is that as soon as we operate in the realm of what people believe and you don't have the reasonable next to it, what somebody might reasonably believe, I think lawyers can do good work on this and get this interesting bug-eyed dude out of it.
I mean, I think if you had the right defendant and the right lawyer, possibly, but I don't think so. I just don't think so. Because
they got OJ out, man.
But again, she left. She was leaving the situation. Okay, and he also looks like this, right? This doesn't look
that's
like
journalistic integrity right there. To have her cheerleading photo and his mugshot.
Yeah.
That look, I am not a fan of this guy. I'm saying I think that a lawyer could get him off depending on what he says. This is that 100% because you're allowed to pursue someone that's stolen your stuff who intruded in your property. If he reasonably believes something that, not even reasonably, if he just believes something had been stolen, okay. I think that.
Yeah. We have to, to me, you're going to have to probably prove that part, that something was stolen, because
I don't think it will happen because I'm sure this guy talked to the cops, but
he probably talked to the guy or he didn't, but he doesn't look like a nice person.
No one looks nice in their mugshot, Mom.
I know. He really doesn't, though. He looks pretty.
He looks like a guy.
He does look like a guy. It's just interesting that he's 25 years old, too. So to me, that one I found a little bit interesting because some of the other ones we were hearing about, it was an older person. And it's been my observation that the older you get, the more scared you get. So,
true.
I mean, just scared of literally everything. And, we can, let's see. So we can move on. Let's see. What's the next one? Oh, So this is probably the big one that kind of set everything off this past week. This is Ralph Jarl. He's 16 years old. He was sent to go pick up his brothers, and he couldn't figure out where the address was. So he was on the wrong street. And so he goes and he knocks on this door. And I also think it was like 9:30 at night. This wasn't, the middle of the day. This was evening. And I also think that he wasn't on foot. I'm getting the impression that he pulled into this driveway and knocked on, or he rang the doorbell. And, nothing was said to him. The guy comes to the door. Well, I shouldn't say that. The guy comes to the door and shoots him in the head and he says, don't come around here, and shoots him again because he has fallen down, and he's fallen down on the porch, and he gets shot twice. So once in the head, once in the arm, I believe. And then he starts to kind of crawl away or run away. So I don't know. I mean, it was a 38 caliber gun, but it's the fact that he is alive right now.
Crazy.
Is insane. So he ends up, according to Ralph, he had to go to 3 different houses before he was able to get some help after this. So kind of spooky, kind of scary. He is out of the hospital right now. He's discharged. So that's, again, amazing.
Oh, he's out of the hospital?
Yeah, he's out of the hospital.
Wow.
Now, again, he's 16. The person that shot him is 84-year-old, such a great photo, 84-year-old Andrew Lester. He has been charged because it took them a while to charge him. They guess they needed to get their ducks in a row before they charged him. So they're charging him with first-degree assault and armed criminal action. I guess the first-degree assault, is like 10 to 30 years in prison. So it's not like it's a nothing charge. It just doesn't sound as big of a charge as it should be when you hear it. So what he says happened, it was that this vehicle pulled into his driveway at 9:30 at night. He had just kind of climbed into bed, and the doorbell rings, and there's a black man, and he's yanking on his door. He's yanking on the exterior door. This is what he says happened. And he thought that the guy was breaking in, and there were no words exchanged. So according to him, he didn't say, don't come around here. But again, no words exchanged. And he just shot him because he believed he was breaking in because he was touching his door. Now, Ralph says, I did not touch his door. I rang his doorbell. But so this is Missouri. Let's see. Does Missouri have any interesting laws? Oh, well, I mean, I will say now, I read through, like you look up the laws, and there'll be like a law firm that will break the laws down for you when you look up stuff like this. And the way that this law firm broke it down, it specifically said you can't shoot someone for banging on your door. You can't shoot a fleeing burglar. I mean, you can in Texas, but you can't do that here in Missouri. No shooting fleeing burglars. You cannot shoot a person who is just in your yard because you're afraid. You need to actually be afraid of an imminent threat, not just that they are there and you don't know what's going to happen. You need to have a real belief of an imminent threat. So you can use force necessary to protect against death, serious injury, forcible felonies. So felonies against your dwelling, your vehicle, your private property that you own or lease. So it kind of extends, you've got a big castle in this scenario. But yeah, you can't just shoot a person in your yard unless you have unless they're doing an actual crime in your yard. They need to be committing the crime in your yard if you're going to shoot them in your yard. And you need to be, again, afraid of all of those things that you're all afraid of, right? Burglars, they're burglarizing.
I'm positive he was afraid. It's just whether or not it was reasonable, which it was not.
It was not reasonable. No. But according to him, somebody was breaking in to his house. That's the way he viewed the situation.
Yep.
But again, you can't shoot someone who's fleeing. I don't know. He fell after the first shot, he fell to the ground. Was he then fleeing for the second shot? I don't know, but it doesn't even matter. You can't just shoot somebody if you believed he was banging on your door. You can't, that's not enough. It's not enough in Missouri. So
yeah, that's going to be brutal.
It's going to be brutal. And being 84 is just another layer, because I think people are like, he's going to die any minute, or he's going to be, I don't know, does he have dementia? Who's going to be changing this man's diapers in prison? I don't know. People just sometimes like have this soft spot in their heart for older people, which I don't think is unwarranted, but I also think he committed a very aggressive crime. And I think the only fear was that there was a black man at his door.
You know, there's a line for everything, man. Like, I've got a soft spot for, for old people that, crashed their car into a light pole. I'm like, all right, I mean, you shouldn't be driving. So stop driving now. But I get it. It's the end of your life. But sometimes it's just about what you do, It's like that I think that we all probably know someone who has gotten drunk and driven. And despite the fact that the risk is unbelievable and that we all know what it is, somehow we don't all like break down into tears and want to kill this person for driving drunk. We're like, what a fucking idiot. That's how we react.
Right. Unless they've actually killed somebody, hurt somebody.
Unless you're me. But all they're doing is rolling the dice. Somebody rolls the die and gets a nat 1. They kill a kid. Oh, suddenly we're not friends with Jeff anymore, are we? So this guy shot a kid.
Yeah.
Sorry, bud. And also, there's also just a line on like, you can be dementia-addled, and there's all sorts of different ways to do it. But at some point, you're a danger to society, right? And we're arguing on like the mental basis of like, oh, he can't control that he's fearful and dementia-addled. Who else can't control their shit? Violent schizophrenics. Okay? And you know what we do? Imprison them all the time. Is it the best way to go? No. I'm guessing this guy's not going to go to prison. I'm guessing he's going to go to an institution.
Maybe.
And it won't feel like justice.
Yeah, he had a big, I believe that he's out on bond, and it was a big fat bond. So
I thought he didn't get bail. Oh, no. The other guy didn't get bail.
The other guy didn't get bail. Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard one. This is a hard one.
This guy lived like a couple miles away from my old boss. And when I heard about it, I wanted it to be my old boss so bad that did it, because he's got a little, of something. So, so I was sad to hear that he wouldn't be imprisoned, but that's my own shit.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. This one happened in Hebron, New York. This is 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis. She was in a car with her boyfriend and I think some other friends. And I'm not sure where they were going, but they were somewhere they were trying to get, and their GPS wasn't working because they were now so rural that they no longer had cell service. So they thought they had pulled into the correct driveway. They pull into this driveway in the middle of nowhere. And I get the impression that there was a steep incline. So this was maybe a long driveway. But it's the wrong driveway. This guy comes out. His name is Kevin Moynihan. And he comes out and he from his porch just starts shooting at them as they are backing up out of the driveway, because it took them a minute to realize they were in the wrong place. Nobody ever got out of the car. They were like, oh no, this isn't right. And they started to back away. And that's when he starts shooting with his shotgun, 2 shots. One of them hits Kaylin and died probably instantly. It seemed, it was a direct hit. We'll just say that. She was shot in the neck. It took them, they had to get 5 miles down the road because they had no cell service before they could even call 911 because it was so rural where they were at. And this guy basically doesn't seem to feel too bad about what happened. It doesn't seem like he hasn't made any sort of remorseful statements. He's got a lawyer. His lawyer seems to be trying to say the right things, but his job is to make this guy not look culpable. But again, he's in New York.
Won't let him make a remorseful statement.
Could be.
So
could be. Yeah. But this guy is in New York, right? New York's got those stricter rules. He needs to reasonably believe that he is in imminent danger.
I don't know if any state would somebody get away with this.
They're backing out of the driveway, right? So you have a duty to retreat in New York, and you cannot prevent somebody from fleeing. So even if you believe that they trespassed illegally, they are fleeing now. They are not causing you any more stress. And that's when you decide to shoot at them. What?
Yep. And also, some of his neighbors had previously expressed concern that his dirt driveway joined to the street in such a way that people might think it was a street. And so that was also some fun little context there. That just makes me think, especially when you're younger, like I've never not driven with GPS, always had GPS. And Ellie had a friend from high school that had a wedding in Virginia. And they were doing it at an old plantation because south. And, and we're driving out to it. And it was amazing. As soon as there was no reception, we were like, oh my gosh, we've got to do it by like which side of the trees the moss is on. And there are roads that are closed and there are friggin' train tracks and stuff. We ended up using the numbers of the highway, being like, okay, I reasonably think this number would connect to this number, and got there just in the nick of time. But there were probably plenty of opportunities for me to go down a private driveway accidentally or something. I mean, someone driving up your driveway, you fucking old clown.
If that happens in the future and you happen to preemptively know that you might not have GPS service available,
we had no idea.
Most gas stations, at least back in the day, there's a question, is this still true today? But most gas stations have maps, physical maps. So
honestly, I would have been afraid to go to a gas station there. Oh yeah, there also weren't gas stations. I mean, this is like farmlands. This is.
Well, they got to get their gas somewhere.
I mean, far away. We had no idea that we were not going to have service.
Right.
Honestly, the idea that there's somewhere in New York where you don't have service is kind of crazy to me. Like at this point, this is like
there's some rural.
What are you talking about?
There's definitely some rural parts of New York. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely rural parts of New York, but there's nothing like Nevada. Okay. There's always, if you look at those light pollution maps, New York's lit up. Okay. The whole thing. There's nothing like the West. Now I get New Mexico having places where there's no service, but New York's weird. Either way, I'm looking at this guy and I'm just thinking like, see, this guy can live in prison. So I'm feeling a little bit better about justice on this one.
Yep. And in New York, you have a duty to flee if you safely can. And nothing was preventing him from fleeing that situation because the people were in his yard and not in his actual house.
Yep. And I saw the same thing that Barbie saw here. He said, Barbie says his grandson said he's very, very racist. I saw the same thing. He said that the grandson said that they had become estranged in recent years because this guy had fallen down the alt-right pipeline. Now,
well, but here's the person he killed. So same race. Just
same race. He's shooting into a car, Mom.
True. He doesn't know who's in his driveway. I believe it's probably nighttime. Yeah.
Do we know the races of all the friends? I don't know.
No.
Either way, I'm not making any sort of racial. The alt-right is not just racists. Okay, let's not be obtuse, mother. Okay?
No. It was just that we're saying that he's racist, and in this particular situation, race wasn't a factor.
This is very important to me, Mom. Okay, because I think people would look at me and they'd look at my glasses that I always wear and my leftist opinions, and they'd think that I think that everyone in the alt-right is a racist. And I have friends that think that there are that everyone in the alt-right is racist. But I lived in Utah, right? I've talked to these people. I know they're not all racists. Okay, some of them are also dumbasses. So there's both. There's representation.
Right. But
there's a long time to get to that punchline.
Unfortunately, fear in New York is not good enough. When the person is in your yard and fleeing and leaving, and this happened in New York, so we can throw fear out the window. He was 65, so definitely at the age where people definitely are a little bit more scared. But yeah, he just looks like a smug dick. But
yep. And his neighbor said he was a dick too. So, fuck him. Sucks that it took this long, but what are you going to do? Should I tell this story?
You tell this one, yes.
Yeah. So this is the last one. And this is actually, I don't even know what state this is in.
This is in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. It was near Charlotte in North Carolina. And what had happened was that there was a group of people playing basketball in the street. This is in like a neighborhood. And people are playing basketball in the street. As it's told, and I'm sure more information will come out, a basketball rolled into this guy's driveway, and the guy became irate, and he took out a gun, and he chased one of the neighbors down the street, and he had a gun. And this guy that he chased used his duty to retreat to run far, far away, and was not shot. Good for him. Even though this guy, I believe, shot a few shots in the direction of the person that ran away, didn't do anything. Well, then this guy, dickhead,
Robert Louis Singletary.
Robert Louis Singletary, sounding like a fucking sea captain. He came back to some of the other neighbors that were playing and he shot this little girl and both of her parents. They're all fine. So this guy's an awful shot. You see right there that she was shot in the cheek. That is going to be the coolest scar ever and is going to win her so many drinking games in college. Like, I mean, never have I ever. It's going to be great. Yeah, he came back, shot all of them. The father is still in the hospital. This one has been dragged into this, like, in the last week. It seems like a lot of these has happened. It's hard to determine whether or not a lot of these have happened, or if one kind of caught the national spotlight and then the debate was in the forefront, and now people are reporting on stories like this. But I don't even think this guy is really claiming any sort of self-defense or stand your ground. I think that this guy is probably crazy. So I highly doubt that he's going to be anywhere outside of prison anytime soon. But just another crazy one that got brought in. Just guns in the news and people just shooting people for weird fucking reasons.
Right. Like, basketball in your yard is not grounds to shoot literally anybody. It's not grounds to just even shoot into the air. You know what I mean? To scare anybody. It's a basketball. I think everybody knows there's no fear involved in basketballs rolling into your driveway. Your life is not in danger in any way. There's nothing to be afraid of unless you are allergic to basketballs for some reason, in which case just stay out of your driveway till one of these kids comes and picks it up.
Yep. I'll tell you one thing. Singletary knows how to take a photo, you know? That thing is scary.
It is scary. He's 24, so not old at all.
So we've really had a pretty diverse population of both victims and dickheads in this story. I mean, no female shooters, but when are there ever female shooters, you know? You guys are too busy shopping.
I just think it's not our preferred method of inflicting pain. We tend to be
like to stab. You're more personal.
We're more personal.
You guys,
we poison, we stab, we do all manner of things, but
yep. Yeah, just big stabbing guys, the women.
It would be my preference too. I've got a whole idea for a weapon in my mind that definitely involves stabbing. Your dad keeps trying to talk me out of. It's a good idea though. It's a stabby
what would
device.
Be my preferred method? You know, let's not ruminate on it. To not give any evidence to the future prosecutors. So
true. I haven't stabbed anybody, but this is a real particular device. Okay, I'm going to talk about it, even though you didn't ask me to. And if anything, you encouraged me not to.
No. Water.
Okay, so I used to like to walk in the parks in Utah, right? And I'd be like, really just getting my walk on. And sometimes it was like a really desolate park, and it kind of freaked me out that there was nobody really around. And so I was thinking about, like hand weights. Sometimes women will walk with hand weights and stuff like that to get a little bit more workout in. Now, imagine it's a hand weight, it's got a strap or something. And when you want to, maybe there's a little button on it, some sort of a mechanism where if you're feeling scared, outside of the weight, a little sharp object will come out, and now I can defend myself with some stabbing motions. But I've got various levels of this in my mind, right? So that's like level 1 is that I can just stab you. But what if I had some additional levels where perhaps I could grab some of your DNA real quick and lock it inside of my device. So now I've got your DNA, and if, it can be found later. Or here's a third level. Perhaps this stabbing device has a way of injecting you with an RFID tag that is associated to my particular weapon. So we're going to find you if you hurt me.
For this
That's what I
very
say.
specific situation of women being attacked while walking with hand weights.
Women walk in parks and exercise in parks all the time. You hear all the time about joggers being snatched up and stuff. It doesn't sound weird to me. It's just now you're also doing with hand waves and looking somewhat non-confrontational because it's going to be, pink and stupid. La, 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 la. And now, ka-cla, pa, 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 pa. That's just the way I feel about it.
I don't know why you prefer that over shooting, but
there's something. I think there's the noise, there's the recoil, all of it's scary. I think I close my eyes a lot with that. I mean, I don't want to get in this altercation at all. It's just one of those things that I feel like I'm more afraid of being snatched up from behind or something like that, where something close quarters where I'm going to have a hard time defending against. I don't think somebody far away, where I've got time to shoot I'm just not as scared of that happening. I feel like let's change directions.
You're more worried about close quarters altercations. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, close quarters, and then I'm not expecting it, right?
The main problem with stabbing is that of the deterrence methods, it's one of the least likely to get someone to stop doing something now, unless you stab them in very specific places. Because people are very good at not noticing they've been stabbed.
Yeah, that does seem true. It seems like people. It takes a lot to stab. I've never stabbed anybody. I don't know. It does feel like unless you're stabbed in a real specific spot, you're probably going to keep moving. You're going to keep it going.
Speaking of the RFID or DNA or whatever. Most pepper spray now does have individual fingerprints in their pepper spray, so that if you pepper spray someone and call the police, they'll take your thing and there's a registry with the pepper spray. So if they find someone at a hospital, they can match it with your pepper spray.
Well, that's fascinating.
Huh. Yep. Elizabeth Brewer, who sounds like a fool, says, I think women also enjoy attacking verbally. I think the satisfaction of stabbing is similar to hurting with words.
That's
true. Very sexist of you, Mom.
No, but it's true though. That is we definitely like to have some we have sharp tongues for sure. We are not nice to each other. No. Yeah, there's no lie there. You look very beautiful right now. Just you're well lit and gorgeous.
Thank you.
I suppose we can take the slides down. Boop. Oh, it doesn't just automatically switch us over. Boop. You're so handsome, Colin.
Thank you.
So, do we have any takeaways here?
Look, guys, people are crazy. And I don't actually know. I mean, I know that stand your ground isn't right. I think I think it provides too many opportunities to take advantage of the law if you know it. There needs to be some sort of, well, one, if you have stand your ground, I think that there needs to be some sort of disclaimer that you cannot insert yourself into situations. That as soon as you insert yourself into a situation where you might reasonably expect bodily harm, you are agreeing to the terms of it by entering it, right? I mean,
I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
It's just it's crazy to me that guy was able to see someone stealing things, which I'm not a huge fan of robbers, but I don't think that anyone deserves to die for stealing things. Well, yeah, I don't think so. And maybe
if they do it in your house, you're allowed to shoot them.
Yeah. But it's different because they're in your fucking house, right? It is different. A violation of your house is different, but going to someone else's house, you've inserted yourself into a situation and then saying the situation I've inserted myself into where I would have reasonably expected it to become deadly, I feared for my life in it. So I was allowed to shoot him. Fuck that. So there's got to be a rule around that. At the same time, it seems like you should be allowed to defend your property to some extent.
Yeah, no, I think the way that you just felt about it, where yes, if somebody's in your home, it's different. I mean, that's literally the whole point of the Castle Doctrine is if it's in your home, it's different. But I think, where is your home? Is it literally your domicile? Is it the entirety of your property? I'm going to tell you that varies by state. Don't assume that you know the answer without finding out what the rules are in your state.
Yep.
And deadly force because somebody has wandered on into your yard is just not okay. If you can reasonably do anything else, do something else.
Yep.
Do something else. The penalty for walking into your yard shouldn't be death. It's bonkers.
Yeah, just yell at him like a normal old man.
Yeah.
God.
Exactly. You could just
What happened to
brandish.
a good old man?
You could just wave your weapon around like a crazy person, and most people would
Yeah.
be like, "Whoa, whoa!"
People have problems with that, but I'm with you.
I mean, I'm just saying.
But wave your weapon
Nobody
around.
died.
Yeah. No, we're chilling. That is, yeah, that's crazy. But and I also think that, man, it's also just different when someone touches you. You know, the second that someone touches you and they have a weapon, it's just then I think that it's different. You know,
It's different.
someone has
Exactly.
a weapon that they can attack you with at range, then I think that there should not be a duty to retreat. If they have a weapon that they can attack you with, that's only close combat, I think it's probably in your best interest to run. Yeah. But also, you should totally be allowed to pepper spray them. And I was amazed in like Canada, you can't have shit. I brought pepper spray to Canada, and I then found out because I almost got into a fight with a guy, and I took out my pepper spray in the altercation, and that ended the altercation, so it did its job. And then I was like, man, I should look up if you're allowed to have this here. You can't have pepper spray in Canada. So now I can't move there. So
in the entirety of Canada?
Well, I think so.
Wow, that is a surprise. I mean, I thought that the same was true in parts of New York. I don't know. There's weird rules about
There's
brass
rules about
knuckles.
buying it, but they can't tell you that you can't have it. There's rules about buying it in here because they're just trying to lessen the amount of it that is out there. But I don't think the Supreme Court would let you in America prevent someone from having any sort of self-defense tools. So,
I mean, listen, right now, these states are trying to take all kinds of random and strange rights away from you. So,
yeah, man.
Montana says no TikTok. No TikTok for you, Montana. It's like so weird.
Yeah, they should probably ban TikTok, but
no, they should not ban TikTok. They shouldn't. It gets
sure?
information out there that wouldn't be out there otherwise. Unless we're going to come up with an American version that is, because really the issue is China, right? We're afraid of China.
Yep.
Because, if we're talking about selling people's information and secrets and stuff, the American companies do that already. So it should be everybody in trouble, not just TikTok.
It's not even on close to the same level
as China.
And also, we're able to prosecute it in America for breaches outside. That's
interesting.
Talk about that another week. That could be interesting because we're actually on different sides of it. Either way, rules are hard.
Rules are hard.
People are crazy. Old men are crazy.
Yeah.
And we should just get rid of them.
I don't know about that.
We should have looked at COVID completely differently. I'm mad enough to say when I'm wrong. The Republicans were right. We should have just ignored it. And it should have killed. Think of all the dead congressmen. God, it would have been awesome.
It would have. We've got too many old people. Listen, I don't hate old people, so I feel bad when I talk like this because that's not how I feel about old people. But I do feel like there's so many of them that are not completely mentally well, and they shouldn't be making decisions, and that they lived in a different time period and are trying to legislate for a world that no longer exists. It is 2023, not 1965. So,
and they're fucking hypocrites, right? Because when it comes to people emigrating to the United States, old people are like, well, they better fucking integrate into American culture. But then old people are like, oh, I'm stuck in my ways. I won't integrate to current American culture. It's like, fuck you. You choose one, okay? Integrate to the current American culture or get COVID and die. These are the rules. These are the rules.
If only.
Okay?
If only.
How can you have both of those opinions? Here's what the culture is now. If you can't be a racist dipshit, we're done with you. Move back to the ocean, okay?
The ocean?
I don't know. I don't know where to put racists. I don't know where to put them.
Okay.
Where
That's
do we
fair.
put? Where should we decide to put racists? I feel like the Northern Territories of Canada.
Oh, that's not nice. Don't do that to Canada.
Yeah, I mean they can't vote, but like I don't know. There's just lots of unpopulated land. I'm just saying, you know, it's America. Love it or leave. Here's how America is right now. Fuck you.
It is interesting because a lot of people do say things, you know, like to people on the left, they'll say, you know, if you don't like it here, then leave. But it's like, no, we want to change it. We want to make it better. That's the goal. It's not get out of here. Although there's definitely been moments where I've been like, we need to get out of here.
There's
But
definitely been moments where, I mean, there's basically every moment is one where I'd like to get out of here. But while I'm here, I'd like to change things. But also, they're the ones that are like, I don't like how things have changed. And it's like, if you're going to love it or leave it, then you've got to love it now. Okay. And right now, it's woke as shit. Okay.
right.
We out here woken and shit.
We're
okay?
out here
Love
woken
it.
and they're trying to unwoke it when it's just not necessary. Let's make everybody scared and make them scared of the wrong things, which is the most interesting part. Make you scared of the strangest stuff on the planet. That doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect you. Why are you so worried about it? So,
I don't know.
it's a distraction.
People, just tell them nobody asked. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, thank you to everybody for coming to the show. Thank you to Elizabeth, Susie B, Wendy, Ashley. Oh, hey, Ashley. Patricia, Barbie, and I said Susie B already. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to the lurkers who just watch and don't comment. You're chilling. You don't got to comment. No pressure, bro.
I mean,
Thank you.
I'd like you to comment just to get you, you know, just get your juices flowing. Come join the fun.
Okay, comment or we don't like you.
I still like you.
No,
just baby step your way in.
One or the other, Mom.
Maybe you're shy. Maybe you're shy.
All right,
one or the other.
We don't like you. Thank you to all of our viewers that watch afterwards. Thank you. You know, thank you to life for just being a highway. Yeah.
I can't say the next part. Moving along.
Oh yeah. Drag shows could also be a topic because it's like, why are we getting mad about drag shows?
That's the point. Why are we afraid? Why are we afraid of drag shows? Why are we afraid of all of these bizarre things? You know, lately, okay, we're going to go on a small side tangent. Lately, I'm hearing the talking point, which I find interesting, and I think we should lean into when it comes to gun control. They're like, you know, it's not the guns, it's the mental health. We need to invest in mental health. And I'm like, yeah, let's invest in mental health. Is an 85-year-old man mentally healthy enough to have a gun? I know that he's scared. I know that he can get taken advantage of.
Mom, when Republicans say invest in mental health, they don't mean treat them like people. That's the problem. They mean put them in a box. So,
I mean, you're probably right, but I just think that when they say things that actually are a portion,
I agree.
A portion of the issue.
I agree with. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. What's going on with? Yeah, sometimes I'm like, wow, we're in a weird, crazy world. Why are they freaking out about drag shows? And then I like to binge watch old Daily Show episodes sometimes, and it's always like, oh, they were always crazy the whole time. That's nice. That's I can't go and see a nativity scene in anyone's front yard anymore. And they're so mad about the war on Christmas in like 2013. And you're like, holy shit, they were dumb. They were dumb back then too. Oh my gosh. And how much they would talk about religion. War. Dude, people talk about religion so much less now. Maybe it's just because I live in a fucking, you know, heathenist city. But I think they talk about religion less. because even at these weddings we're going to, they're kind of low key about the religion. I'm like, oh, you know. So it's fine. Everything's great. Thank you all. We're ending the episode now. Oh, anything you want to say, Mom?
No, just that I'm happy to see everybody. Big hugs. Big hugs. Big hugs. We look the same.
No, but
when we do that.
Look at how small my eyes become.
I know, that's weird. Does it work with mine too? Are mine becoming small? I don't feel like they are. Just deformed.
All right, everyone.
Okay, slight distraction. Sorry.
We're shot. Bleep.
Oh. Ooh. Shabadoo, shabadoo, shabadoo.
Ah.
Bang, bang, bang. Shoot your neighbor, shoot your neighbor, shoot your neighbor. I hate basketballs. Get out of my driveway. Oh. Why you on my porch? Get off of my porch. Nobody steps on my porch. It is a sacred place. It is my porch.
Can you press end? I can't press it.
I will press end. Oh, I got to press it a second time.